Camera comparison between the Xiaomi 14 Pro, the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and the Galaxy S23 Ultra. Front-facing cameras, 4K, 30 frames per second. With all three of them, we do have electronic image stabilization, and they can also shoot 4K 60, but currently it's 4K 30 at the moment. So a bit of a jog testing stabilization. Audio sources I'm swapping over to so we can listen to which one has the best microphone. Now, there is no wind at the moment. There shouldn't be any wind noise coming through on these mics. And just to point out the obvious, all three of these phones are on the latest firmware. 4K 60 frames per second now, so it should look a lot smoother. That's the whole point behind it, doubling our frame rate. Jogging now. For the stability test. Which do you think is the steadiest? And now just a bit of a pan around. Will one of these exhibit some jitter, dropped frames? I certainly hope not. Now there is a little bit of wind along here on the coast, and this is going to be a good test of that to see which one handles it the best. So I'm using our main cameras here, 4K 30, but now I'm going to apply some zoom. So this is 10 times with the Galaxy S23 Ultra, 5 times with our iPhone, and we'll take that up to now 10 times. There we go, that's now 10 with the iPhone, and the same here with our Xiaomi. I'm going to zoom right into 10 times. That is mostly digital, 3.2 optical, and that is now 10 times there, pointing at the castle of Denya. Main cameras, 4K 30 frames per second. So we have optical and electronic image stabilization with all of these phones, and the quality looking very good. Now I am swapping, of course, over the audio sources. We should not hear any wind noise because at the moment it doesn't seem to be the slightest breeze. Maybe it doesn't seem to really be any strong currents of wind. Jogging down these steps, testing that stabilization. Which do you think is the steadiest? And difficult conditions, the sun has just rose up, and when I pan around here, that difference with the audio exposure, sunlight on the sea, hopefully that doesn't trigger any dropped frames. It shouldn't. Should be very smooth with these phones. 8K 30 frames per second, so this is a battle between really the Xiaomi and the Samsung because the iPhone cannot shoot 8K. Are we going to see much of a difference? Not really here with this video because it's scaled to fit. Both of them being 30 frames per second means the motion is looking quite smooth. Before, Xiaomi had a limitation on all their other phones that 8K would always be 24 frames per second. Ultra wide video, 4K 30 frames per second. I think one of them has an edge. Looking slightly smoother here as I pan around. I think I sometimes see some drop frames with the Xiaomi or some judder. Nighttime video, it is almost about 10 PM, so very dark here, and these phones, front-facing camera sensors, tiny, are struggling quite a bit. There's a lot of grain, there's a lot of noise. Electronic image stabilization now is not looking good. You can even see each of the steps I take, the jarring comes through with the video, so not ideal conditions at all for cell phones to be recording, mobiles to be recording in these kind of conditions. So which one is being affected the most by the lens flare? It looks like it is still the iPhone. You can see, look at that. And the S23 Ultra is handling it the best. There's a lot of that lens flare going on. You can see it looks like there's a UFO in the sky here. But no, sadly not. Walking the head stabilization across all three. The night footage, again, not as good as daytime, of course. Over to the still samples now. So with this bright red hibiscus flower, you can see the Xiaomi a bit oversaturated. There is a lot of clipping going on with the reds. Now all three of the phones are clipping the reds a little. This is typical of a bright flower. It happens a lot. Now the S23 Ultra has the sharpest looking image, and if you don't crop in
then you don't really notice that over sharpening, which tends to happen a lot with the Samsung. The iPhone photo is very good, different kind of focal point, even though I tapped on the same area. But overall, I think just the S23 Ultra, to my eyes, looks like the more pleasant shot. The lovely Vera here, she posed for all three of these flagships. Now the focal point was her little pink nose. And you can see that the Xiaomi is losing a lot of the details with the black. It's just crushing that quite a bit. Now the white balance is off with the Xiaomi, a little too blue. The iPhone probably has the best white balance, the more true to life here with the rear cameras, as long as it's not a portrait shot. And then you get a little bit more detail, and again that sharpening with the S23 Ultra. So it's between those two, and my pick would be the iPhone because of the colors, and I do like the fact it's a little softer and not over sharpened like the Samsung. More flowers again, but this is in the shade. The sun was going down. Now they all look very, very similar here, almost identical, but when you crop in, you see a bit of a difference with the focus. Now they all had the same focus point again. The colors across all three do look very good, and they are very close. I think the iPhone's just a little bit out the focus. I like the details we get on the pedals with the S23 Ultra, and I find the Xiaomi also to be very good, really detailed. So I would draw it really between the Samsung and the Xiaomi with this particular shot. Now this shot, at first glance, you're probably thinking, well, again, it all looks the same, right? Well, there's a big difference. HDR, take a look at the Xiaomi. When you crop in, you start to notice this a little more. Notice how there are just so many more details in those trees coming through. The shadows look a little bit better. The Samsung, this shot, it does show how over sharpened it is. And I give the Xiaomi the win here with the best HDR. This is still the main camera. Some zoom camera shots now. So first up, I'm not going to use any digital zoom. This is purely optical. So you're looking at a big difference here. 3.2 with the Xiaomi versus 5 with the Apple versus the 10 with the Samsung. Now, and of course, the Samsung does get in the closest, has the best details. It's a little noisy, the camera, but it still is really nice how close it can get with that 10 times optical zoom. Keeping with the zoom cameras, this time I made them all exactly the same. So this is 10 times zoom across all three. You can see the Xiaomi, to my eyes, looks the worst. The first place, I think, is the S23 Ultra, even though, yeah, there's a bit of noise to it, it still does look sharper. There's less blurring to the image of what we get with the 5 times optical with the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Another 10 times shot, you can see again there is a big difference across all three, and I do prefer the S23 Ultra. I just think it's the more vivid shot. I like the contrast, the sharpness, the details. The Xiaomi looks washed out. The iPhone doesn't look great either. Ultra-wide cameras, so there is a lot going on in this shot, and all three of them are good. They're fantastic. A lot of detail. It comes down to, for me, the white balance and those details captured. I think the iPhone's details, you have to look at that rock that's on the right, the big rock. It's more detailed than the other two, slightly. The white balance with the iPhone, which with portraits is always off, here with the rear camera and with the ultra-wide, the white balance was actually the best, more true to life across all three. This is how I saw it, and I do like the fact that the iPhone hasn't over-processed, over-sharpened this shot. Onto portraits now, so you can see straight away what is going on with the white balance with the Xiaomi. It's too warm. It's completely off. Look at the sky in the Xiaomi. It's blown out completely. It's not even blue, or barely. No, there's no blue there at all. Now, if you have a look at the stitching across all three of them, I think it's the iPhone that has pulled ahead with the best stitching, I think, slightly, but I do like the stitching with the Xiaomi. It also looks good. Now, the white balance, the one that is more correct, is the Samsung. Slightly better. I like the details we get with the Samsung portrait shot, so that is the one that gets the win. So there is a difference here with the rear portraits with the default zoom level we do get. Now, clearly the Xiaomi's a little too warm. Now, some people may like this. The stitching on the Xiaomi, while good, is nowhere near as good as the iPhone. This is the one to me that looks more natural. It does capture a lot of those loose, fine hairs blowing around everywhere, especially on the left side of my youngest daughter's hair. You can see a lot of loose hairs there just weren't captured with the other two phones. Skin tones and details, I do like the Samsung. I think that one overall is the best, but the stitching is a disappointment from Samsung. A little too sharp. You can see with the lips of my daughter too, they look a little bit off there. And overall, I think it's the Samsung, but definitely the iPhone stitching is the best. Ultra wide cameras for our last lot of day shots. Now all three of them, they look basically the same, right? Exactly the same. Now the Xiaomi has a 50 megapixel camera, the other two 12 megapixels. Does it give an advantage? No. When you zoom in, like now, I've cropped it in 200%, they're really the same, but you can see a tad more over sharpening with the Samsung, just a little bit there. I do like the fact that the iPhone hasn't really sharpened as much. The iPhone does capture more details, and see that tiny little light cloud that is to the left of these photos. It's the only one that got the actual individual details of that little tiny cloud. But the white balance with the Xiaomi turned out to be more true to life here. So they're all really trading blows with this, especially ultra-wide shot. I think they're all about the same. Really, it's a draw. Over to Lowlight. So no contest here with the Lowlight selfies. I think it is the Samsung. It's the best shot, and all three of them aren't very good because you can see there's a lot of noise with the iPhone, especially when you take a look at my t-shirt, and there's some skin smoothing going on with the Xiaomi. I have almost no wrinkles at all, and I had beautifying off. Rear cameras. So the Xiaomi has the largest aperture at 1.4. The brightest. Does it make a difference? Well, I think it handled the artificial lights the best. However, the details with that roof there with the little tiny LEDs, like those bamboo sticks, does come out the best with the Samsung, I feel, with this shot. Still with our main cameras, you can see there's a massive difference in how the sky is rendered and captured. I don't like how it looks with the Samsung. It's very artificial. It was black, and the iPhone, a little bit of graying going on there with the sky too. So it comes out the best with the Xiaomi. And not only did it get the sky right, it also got the white balance correct too. It should look quite warm. They have these orangey yellow lights. With this photo, it should look blue the road. There are some blue street lights, and that sign on the hotel, it should be the darker kind of blue that it is with the iPhone shot. So it represents that color a little bit better. But I do like the Samsung here. A little bit over sharpened, but it captures more details. Zoom cameras now. With the low light, you can see there's a lot of noise across all three of them. The Xiaomi's the worst. It's a little bit blurred. We get a lot of details inside with both the iPhone and our Samsung. Ooh, okay, now this is looking very close. So the sky with the Samsung for me is the worst. That's third place. And the night sky looks great with the iPhone. It's not until you crop in you start to see the differences. Look at that lamp and then the sign at the top and the other red sign that says Jamaica. The Xiaomi, this is where the Xiaomi has pulled ahead, winning this shot. Final night shot now. So there's a big difference with the way the pavers look on the iPhone and the Samsung. Xiaomi's handled this the best with the best colors. I like the fact that the night sky again is very deep black with both the iPhone and the Xiaomi. The Samsung again is making it look kind of gray. And when you look at the colors of those lamps, they should be that more warmer color. And the interior there, it looks like it's captured maybe slightly better with the iPhone, but overall, I think it is the Xiaomi that is the winner. And to recap, these are my findings. Yours may vary from mine, but I think the low light photography, the edge went to the Xiaomi. For night video, it was the Samsung that was the best, the sharpest. Audio, I would give it to the Xiaomi if it didn't have that terrible wind noise problem. So it goes to the Samsung for the best microphones. Day 4K video, iPhone for 4K, 30 and 60. 8K, definitely the Samsung. The Xiaomi, if you decide to shoot 8K 30 frames per second, it has no electronic image stabilization until hopefully they add that with a patch. Vlog footage, that was a bit of a surprise. I preferred the Xiaomi. Now I would say the iPhone was smoother, yes, but the iPhone is very warm, the footage. So that's why the Xiaomi gets the win there. Portrait photos, the iPhone had the best stitching, but I preferred the skin tones of the Samsung. And then the zoom video, that was the iPhone. It's the steadiest, and I think it looked the best contrast. So do you agree with my findings? If you do, let me know in the comments. If you don't, also let me know why, and thank you so much for watching.